unlimited drama series.
The lie rolled off my tongue so smoothly, I almost believed it myself. It's just networking, Nathan. You know how important career advancement is in today's market. My husband looked up from his laptop, those gentle brown eyes filled with confusion. But why can't spouses come? Every other company retreat I've heard of includes families. I forced a laugh, the kind that made him feel small for asking. Because it's not a retreat, honey. It's a strategic planning weekend. Very focused, very professional. Reese specifically said it's for senior staff only. Nathan's jaw tightened slightly at the mention of my boss's name. Reese this, Reese that. You talk about him constantly, Lelia. He's my supervisor, I snapped, letting irritation creep into my voice. Of course I talk about him. He's mentoring me for the regional promotion. Unless you'd prefer I stay stuck in my current position forever? The guilt worked like magic. Nathan's shoulders sagged, and he returned his attention to his screen. It feels weird, that's all. Weird? I stood up, crossing my arms. Nathan, your paranoia is becoming a real problem. I'm trying to build a career here, and you're acting like some jealous teenager. Our 7-year-old daughter, Mira, looked up from her coloring book at the kitchen table. Why are you fighting? We're not fighting, sweetheart, I said, softening my voice. Daddy's just worried about Mommy's work trip this weekend. Nathan closed his laptop harder than necessary. I'm not worried. I just think it's strange that a team-building exercise only includes 2 people. It's not just 2 people, I lied smoothly. There will be other managers there. You're being ridiculous. The truth was, it would be just Reese and me. 3 days at the company's remote campground, officially logged as a strategic planning retreat, but really an opportunity for us to explore the chemistry that had been building for months. Reese was everything Nathan wasn't: confident, ambitious, exciting. He made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. My phone buzzed, a text from Reese. Looking forward to our weekend strategy session, I've booked the executive cabin. I quickly deleted the message before Nathan could see, but not before my pulse quickened. The executive cabin was the nicest accommodation at the campground. Private, secluded, with a king-size bed. Who was that? Nathan asked. Just work stuff, I said, already mentally packing. I should get ready. We're leaving early tomorrow morning. That evening, I called my mother while Nathan was putting Mira to bed. Martha Dorsey had always been my biggest supporter, especially when it came to my marriage. A weekend away sounds wonderful, dear, she cooed into the phone. You work so hard. Nathan should be grateful you have such a dedicated boss who's willing to invest in your career. That's what I told him, but he's being weird about it, acting all suspicious and jealous. Men, she sighed, they never understand ambition. Your father was the same way. Just enjoy yourself, Lelia. You deserve some excitement in your life. Meanwhile, I could hear Nathan's mother Helen on the phone with him in the next room. Her voice carried through the thin walls of our house. I'm just saying, watch her, Helen was saying. Something doesn't feel right about this whole thing. A married woman going camping with her boss? In my day, that would have raised eyebrows. Mom, I can't just forbid her to go. It's 2023, not 1953. I'm not saying forbid her. I'm saying pay attention. I rolled my eyes. Helen had never liked me, always thought her precious son could do better. She was about to be proven very wrong. Friday morning arrived crisp and clear. I loaded my overnight bag into my car, making sure Nathan saw the professional clothes I'd packed on top. Underneath were the silk nightgown and lace lingerie I'd bought specifically for this weekend. Have a good trip, Nathan said, kissing my cheek. His lips felt cold against my skin. I will. Don't wait up Sunday night. We might run late with the final planning session. As I drove toward the campground, my phone rang. Reese's name flashed on the screen. Ready for our retreat? His voice was warm, intimate, more than ready. I told Nathan we'd be working on strategic planning all weekend. Reese laughed. Well, we will be planning something strategic. Our strategy for not getting caught. The campground was beautiful. 60 acres of forest with hiking trails, a lake, and scattered cabins. The executive cabin sat apart from the others, surrounded by tall pines that provided complete privacy. Reese's black SUV was already parked outside. He greeted me at the door wearing jeans and a flannel shirt that made his shoulders look impossibly broad. "Welcome to our corporate retreat, Ms. Drayton." I giggled like a schoolgirl. "Very professional setup you have here, Mr. Callahan." The cabin was perfect, rustic but luxurious, with a stone fireplace, full kitchen, and that king-size bed I'd been thinking about. Reese had already opened a bottle of expensive wine. "To strategic planning," he said, raising his glass. "To strategic planning," I echoed, and we both burst into laughter. The weekend passed in a blur of passion and excitement. We hiked the trails during the day, maintaining the pretense that this was work-related, but spent most of our time in the cabin. Reese was attentive, charming, everything I'd been missing at home. Sunday evening, as we prepared to leave, he handed me a receipt. "For the wine and dinner expenses, you'll need to submit these for reimbursement." I glanced at the paper, a charge for $200 at the lodge restaurant, clearly showing a table for two with expensive wine and intimate dinner selections. The timestamp showed 11:47 p.m. Saturday night. Should I really submit this? It might look suspicious. "Of course," Reese said, kissing my neck. "It's a legitimate business expense. We were discussing quarterly projections over dinner." I folded the receipt and tucked it into my purse. What could go wrong? When I arrived home Sunday night, Nathan was waiting in the living room. He looked tired, older somehow. "How is your strategic planning?" he asked quietly. "Productive," I said, avoiding his eyes. "Very productive. I think the promotion is definitely within reach now." Nathan nodded slowly. "I'm sure it is." As I unpacked my bag upstairs, I felt a twinge of guilt seeing the lingerie I'd worn for Reese mixed in with my business clothes. But the feeling passed quickly. I deserved happiness, didn't I? I deserved excitement and passion and a man who appreciated my ambitions. I had no idea that Nathan had already found the receipt that had fallen from my purse when I set it down in the kitchen. The receipt for a romantic dinner for two at 11:47 p.m. during what was supposed to be a professional business retreat. He was sitting at his computer, carefully photographing the receipt and saving it to a folder labeled Evidence. Monday morning at the office felt different. I was glowing for my weekend with Reese, and I wanted the world to see how successful and adventurous I was. While Nathan sat in his boring IT cubicle, I was building real connections with influential people. I scrolled through the photos on my phone, selecting the best ones from the campground. The hiking trail shots were perfect. They showed the beautiful scenery and suggested serious outdoor team-building activities. I carefully cropped out any signs that only two people had been present, making sure Reese wasn't visible in any of the shots I planned to post. "Weekend corporate retreat at the company campground," I typed as the caption. Nothing like strategic planning in nature. Hashtag career growth, hashtag team building, hashtag leadership. The likes and comments started rolling in immediately. My coworkers were impressed, my college friends were jealous, and my mother commented with 3 fire emojis and "so proud of my ambitious daughter." But I'd been careless with one photo. In the background of what I thought was a solo shot of me by the lake, Reese was barely visible sitting at a picnic table. To most people, he'd look like just another colleague, but to someone looking closely, someone like Nathan's brother Simon, it was clearly intimate body language. I was at my desk, basking in the social media attention, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The message contained a screenshot of my Instagram post, with a red circle drawn around the background figure. "Thought you should know people are talking. A concerned friend." My stomach dropped. I quickly pulled up the photo again, zooming in on the background. There was Reese, leaning back in a relaxed pose that definitely didn't scream professional meeting. Anyone who knew him would recognize him immediately. I deleted the post within minutes, but screenshots live forever. The whispers started that afternoon. I could feel eyes on me as I walked through the office, and conversations seemed to stop when I approached groups of coworkers. During my lunch break, I overheard two women from accounting talking by the coffee machine. Did you see Lelia's camping photos? That looked awfully cozy for a business trip. Wasn't that Reese in the background? I thought he was married too. I cleared my throat loudly as I approached, and they scattered like guilty teenagers. At home that evening, Nathan was unusually quiet during dinner. Mira chattered about her day at school, but he barely responded, just pushed food around his plate with mechanical precision. Everything okay? I asked, though part of me dreaded the answer. Simon called today, Nathan said without looking up. He sent me something interesting. My blood turned to ice. Simon had never liked me, thought I was too good for his brother. He'd been looking for ammunition against me for years. Oh, what did he want? Nathan pulled out his phone and showed me the screenshot. My own Instagram post stared back at me, with Reese clearly visible in the background, circled in red. He wanted to know why my wife was posting romantic camping photos with her boss. I forced a laugh, the same dismissive sound I'd used 100 times before. Romantic? Nathan, that's ridiculous. You can barely even see him in the background. People love to create drama where none exists. The timestamp on this photo is 9:30 p.m. Saturday night. What kind of strategic planning happens at 9:30 p.m. by a lake? We were taking a break from the evening session. God, Nathan, do you hear yourself? You're analyzing my Instagram posts like some kind of detective. It's honestly embarrassing. I stood up from the table, letting my chair scrape loudly against the floor. I can't believe your own brother's sending you conspiracy theories about my work trips. And I can't believe you're entertaining them. Nathan's voice remained calm, which somehow made it worse. I'm not entertaining anything. I'm asking a simple question about a photo you posted publicly. The question itself is insulting, I shot back. It shows how little you trust me, how little you respect my career. Maybe if you had more ambition yourself, you'd understand what networking actually looks like. Mira looked up from her chicken nuggets, her little face creased with worry. Are you mad at Daddy again, Mommy? No, sweetheart, I said, softening my voice. Daddy's just having a hard time understanding Mommy's work. Sometimes grown-ups get confused about things. Nathan's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. After dinner, I heard him on the phone with his mother in the garage. She's gaslighting you. Helen's voice carried through the thin walls. Making you feel crazy for noticing obvious red flags? I've seen this before, Nathan. You need to start paying closer attention. I don't want to be that husband, Mom. The suspicious, controlling type. There's a difference between being controlling and protecting yourself. Get your facts straight, then act. Meanwhile, I called my mother from our bedroom, needing validation and support. People are so jealous, Martha said immediately when I explained the situation. A successful woman threatens them, so they make up stories. And Nathan should be defending you, not feeding into office gossip. That's what I told him. His own brother is stirring up trouble. Simon always was a troublemaker. Remember at your wedding when he made that toast about hoping Nathan knew what he was getting into? I should have said something then. Nathan's being impossible, acting like I can't have a professional relationship with my boss without it being some kind of affair. Men, she sighed, they never understand that successful women have to work twice as hard to get ahead. You keep doing what you're doing, honey. Don't let their insecurity hold you back. But even as my mother's words soothed my ego, I couldn't shake the feeling that walls were closing in. The office gossip was getting louder, and Nathan was asking more questions. For the first time since the weekend began, I wondered if I'd been too careless. That night, as Nathan brushed his teeth, I noticed him glance at my phone when it lit up with a text notification. I quickly grabbed it, but not before seeing Reese's name on the screen. Who's texting this late? Nathan asked. Probably just a work update. You know how it is in management. The job never really stops. I waited until Nathan was asleep before reading Reese's message. Missing our strategy sessions already. When can we schedule the next one? I typed back quickly. Soon. But we need to be more careful. People are starting to talk. Let them talk. What can they prove? I stared at that message for a long time before deleting the entire conversation. Reese was right. What could anyone prove? We'd been discreet, professional on the surface. A few office rumors and a blurry background photo weren't evidence of anything. But as I lay in bed next to my sleeping husband, I couldn't escape the feeling that I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and the ground beneath my feet was starting to crumble. In the morning, I would discover that Nathan had seen more than just Reese's name on my phone screen. He'd seen enough of the message preview to know that late-night texts between his wife and her boss weren't about quarterly reports, and he was already making plans to find out exactly what they were about. The office felt different when I walked in Tuesday morning. Conversations stopped mid-sentence when I passed, and I caught several coworkers quickly looking away from their computer screens. The Instagram incident had clearly made its rounds through the company gossip mill. I needed to regain control of the narrative, and fast. "Good morning, everyone," I called out cheerfully as I made my way to my desk, projecting confidence I didn't entirely feel.
2,000. I didn't get any jewelry.
I was ending
With a
it.
diamond goodbye gift?
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Hope everyone had a great weekend. Mine was incredibly productive. Nothing like some intensive strategic planning to get the creative juices flowing. A few people mumbled responses, but the energy remained awkward. I could see Reese in his corner office, on a phone call, deliberately avoiding eye contact. We'd agreed to keep things strictly professional at work, but the distance felt cold after our intimate weekend. Around 10 a.m., my phone rang. Nathan's name appeared on the screen, which was unusual. He rarely called during work hours. "Hi, honey, what's up?" "I've been thinking about our conversation last night." His voice was measured, careful. "About the photo and the questions. I owe you an apology." Relief flooded through me. "Oh, Nathan, thank you. I was really hurt by the implications." "I know, and I'm sorry. It's just, this whole situation has me feeling insecure. You're advancing in your career, spending time with successful people, and I'm stuck in the same IT job I've had for 5 years. I think I was projecting my own inadequacies onto your professional relationships." Perfect. This was exactly what I needed to hear. "I understand, honey, but you have to trust me. My relationship with Reese is purely professional. He's mentoring me because he sees potential, not because of anything inappropriate." "I know. I was being paranoid. Actually, I was thinking we should have people over for dinner this weekend. Show everyone that we're solid, that these rumors are just nonsense." I hesitated. A dinner party meant scrutiny, performance, keeping up appearances. But it also meant publicly demonstrating that my marriage was stable, which would shut down the office gossip. That's a wonderful idea. Who should we invite? Maybe Simon and his girlfriend, your mother, a few of our couple friends. Keep it casual, but nice. After hanging up, I felt more confident. Nathan was backing down, apologizing, even helping me manage the situation. I'd handled this perfectly. But that confidence cracked when Mira came home from school that afternoon, asking uncomfortable questions. "Mommy, why is Daddy sleeping in the guest room?" I looked up from my laptop, startled. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "His pillow's in there, and his pajamas. Sarah's daddy slept in their guest room before he moved to an apartment." My throat tightened. Sarah was Mira's classmate, whose parents had recently divorced. "Daddy's not sleeping in the guest room, honey. He was probably just reading in there and left his things." But when Nathan came home, I noticed he was indeed carrying his pillow toward the guest room. "What's this about?" I demanded, following him down the hallway. "I need some space to think," he said quietly. "Just for a few nights." "Space to think about what?" "I thought we resolved this morning's conversation." "We did, but I still need space." The calm in his voice was more unsettling than anger would have been. I could handle Nathan's emotions, manipulate his guilt and insecurity, but this quiet distance was harder to penetrate. "You're being dramatic," I said, forcing a laugh. "Moving into the guest room over some office gossip? What will people think?" "I don't really care what people think anymore, Lelia. That's the problem. I've been so worried about appearances that I stopped paying attention to reality." "What reality?" "Nathan, you're starting to scare me. This paranoid behavior isn't healthy." "I'm not paranoid," he said, finally meeting my eyes. "I'm just tired of feeling crazy." That night, I called my mother again, needing her unwavering support. "He's having some kind of midlife crisis," I explained. "Moving into the guest room, acting all mysterious and cold. I think he's jealous of my success and looking for ways to sabotage it." "Men can't handle successful women," Martha agreed immediately. Your father did the same thing when I started my real estate career. They feel threatened, so they create problems where none exist. Should I be worried about this dinner party idea? He wants to invite everyone over this weekend. Absolutely do it. Show everyone that you're the stable one, that he's the one acting strange. Let him dig his own grave. But even my mother's validation couldn't shake the growing unease. Something had shifted in Nathan, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what. Wednesday brought new challenges. I arrived at work to find an email requesting my presence in HR at 2 p.m. No explanation, just a meeting request from Janelle Park, the department head. My hands trembled slightly as I typed my response confirming the appointment. HR meetings were never good news, especially when you'd been the subject of office gossip for 3 days straight. I spent the morning trying to focus on actual work, but my mind kept wandering to worst-case scenarios. What if someone had reported the camping trip? What if they'd seen more photos than the one I'd posted? What if Reese had said something inappropriate? At lunch, I finally cornered Reese by the elevator. Did you get called to HR? I asked quietly. No, why? I have a meeting at 2. I'm worried someone complained about our trip. Reese's expression remained neutral, professional. There's nothing to complain about. We went on a company-sanctioned planning retreat. Whatever personal time we spent together is nobody's business. But what if they ask specific questions? What if they want to see receipts or timelines? Then you tell them the truth, that we worked on strategic planning and occasionally took breaks for meals and relaxation. You're overthinking this, Lelia. But as the elevator doors closed between us, I caught a flicker of something in his expression. Concern? Fear? Or was he already distancing himself from potential fallout? The HR meeting was worse than I'd imagined. Janelle Park was polite but thorough, asking detailed questions about the weekend's activities, the purpose of the trip, and the nature of my working relationship with Reese. We've received some informal concerns about the appropriateness of the retreat, she explained. Nothing official, just questions about company policy regarding supervisor-subordinate travel. I understand the concern, I said, channeling my most professional demeanor, but Mr. Callahan mentors several employees. He's very committed to developing talent within the company. The retreat was focused entirely on strategic planning for my potential promotion. Can you walk me through the weekend's schedule? I'd prepared for this question, creating a mental timeline that mixed truth with fiction. Friday evening, we arrived and reviewed quarterly reports over dinner. Saturday, we hiked the trails while discussing market expansion strategies, then spent the evening analyzing competitor data. Sunday morning was devoted to goal setting and action items before we packed up and left. Janelle took notes, her expression giving nothing away. And this was just the two of you? Yes. Mr. Callahan felt that one-on-one mentoring would be more effective for my specific career development needs. I see. Well, thank you for clarifying. We may follow up if we need additional information. Walking back to my desk, I felt simultaneously relieved and terrified. I'd handled the questions well, but the fact that HR was investigating at all meant the situation was more serious than office gossip. That evening, I threw myself into dinner party preparations, needing the distraction and the opportunity to demonstrate my competence as a wife and hostess. If people wanted to question my character, I'd show them exactly who Lelia Drayton was. A successful, ambitious woman with a stable marriage and beautiful family. But as I chopped vegetables for Saturday's menu, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was preparing for a performance that might determine the rest of my life. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a small voice whispered that Nathan's sudden cooperation with the dinner party might not be the surrender I'd assumed it was. Saturday's dinner party was supposed to be my triumph, a carefully orchestrated demonstration that the rumors about my marriage were nonsense. I spent the entire day preparing, transforming our modest home into something worthy of a magazine spread. The dining room table gleamed under soft lighting, set with our wedding china and the good silverware we rarely used. I'd prepared Nathan's favorite pot roast alongside more sophisticated dishes that showcased my culinary skills. Everything had to be perfect. The guests arrived promptly at 6. Simon and his girlfriend Jessica, my mother Martha, our couple friends Dave and Rebecca. and Nathan's mother, Helen. I'd deliberately chosen people who represented different aspects of our social circle: family, friends, and Nathan's support system. "Everything looks beautiful, dear," Martha gushed, kissing my cheek. "You've outdone yourself." Helen's greeting was considerably cooler. "Lovely table, Lelia." Her tone suggested she found nothing lovely about it. For the first hour, everything went according to plan. Conversation flowed easily, centered on safe topics like Mira's school performance and Dave's recent promotion. I played the perfect hostess, ensuring everyone's wine glasses stayed full while sharing amusing anecdotes about my work projects. "Lelia's been doing amazing things at her company," Martha announced during the main course. "Her boss has really taken her under his wing." Not every employee gets that kind of mentoring. I caught Nathan's slight wince at the mention of Reese, but he recovered quickly. "She's very talented. Her dedication is really paying off." "Speaking of dedication," Simon said, his voice carrying an edge I didn't like, "how was that camping trip last weekend? Sounds like intensive work." The table went quiet. I could feel everyone's attention focusing on me like a spotlight. "It was very productive," I said smoothly. "Sometimes you need to get away from the office environment to really focus on strategic planning." The campground provided the perfect setting for uninterrupted brainstorming. "Just the two of you?" Jessica asked innocently. "That must have been quite intensive." Mr. Callahan believes in personalized mentoring. One-on-one sessions are much more effective than group dynamics for certain types of professional development. Helen set down her fork with a sharp clink. "In my day, married women didn't go camping alone with their male supervisors. It was considered inappropriate, regardless of the business justification." "Well, it's not your day anymore, Helen," Martha shot back. "Women today don't have to limit their careers based on outdated social conventions." "Some conventions exist for good reasons," Helen replied coolly. I felt control of the evening slipping away. Let's not turn this into a generational debate. The retreat was completely professional, and I resent the implication that it was anything else. "Nobody's implying anything," Simon said, but his tone suggested otherwise. "We're just curious about these new mentoring techniques. Seems like a significant investment of company resources for one employee." Nathan had been silent through this exchange, cutting his meat with mechanical precision. Finally, he looked up. "I think we should change the subject. This isn't appropriate dinner conversation." But Simon wasn't finished. "Actually, I think it's very appropriate. Families should be able to discuss concerns openly." "Concerns?" I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "What concerns exactly? That I'm advancing in my career? That I have a boss who recognizes my potential? Or are you all just uncomfortable with a woman who refuses to limit herself based on other people's insecurities?" "Lelia," Nathan said quietly, "please sit down." "No, I won't sit down. I've listened to these veiled accusations all week, and I'm done. My relationship with my supervisor is completely professional. The fact that you all can't accept that says more about your prejudices than it does about my behavior." Mira appeared in the doorway, drawn by the raised voices. "Why is everyone yelling?" The sight of our daughter's worried face broke some of the tension. I immediately softened my voice. "We're not yelling, sweetheart. Just having an adult discussion. Why don't you go watch TV in the living room?" "I want to stay with Grandma Helen," Mira said, walking over to Nathan's mother. Helen wrapped an arm around her, and the gesture felt like a judgment. "Maybe we should call it a night," Rebecca suggested awkwardly. "Thank you for dinner, Lelia. Everything was delicious." The evening dissolved into polite but strained goodbyes. Martha hugged me fiercely, whispering, "You handled that beautifully. Don't let them make you doubt yourself." But Helen's parting words cut deeper. "Take care of yourself, Nathan. And take care of Mira." After everyone left, I stood in the kitchen surrounded by dirty dishes, feeling like the evening had been a complete disaster. Nathan was loading plates into the dishwasher with robotic efficiency. "Well, that went well," I said sarcastically. "Did it?" Because from where I was sitting, it looked like you attacked our guests for asking reasonable questions. Reasonable questions? Simon was practically accusing me of having an affair. Was he wrong to? The question hung in the air like a blade. I turned to face Nathan, seeing something in his expression I'd never seen before, a cold certainty that made my stomach drop. "Excuse me?" I said. Was he wrong to ask those questions? "Nathan, what are you saying?" Instead of answering, he walked to the kitchen counter and picked up a manila folder I hadn't noticed before. "I think we need to have a conversation. A real one, without the gaslighting and manipulation." "I don't know what you're talking about." He opened the folder and pulled out a photograph. It was the receipt from the lodge restaurant, the one I thought I'd hidden safely in my purse. The timestamp clearly showed 11:47 p.m., and the itemized bill revealed an intimate dinner for two with expensive wine. "This fell out of your purse Monday night," Nathan said calmly. "Care to explain what kind of strategic planning happens at midnight over champagne and chocolate dessert?" My mouth went dry. We were celebrating the successful completion of our planning sessions. It's perfectly normal to Mark.